What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the Altar again, and this time we are here with Ollie of Amorphis and Octoploid. It is great to be able to talk with you. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Hello, Alex. This is Oppo. Thank you for your request. It's a pleasure to be here, and let's see what's up. All
Yeah,
right.
definitely. Because I was just listening to this new Octoploid album, which is really like an epic adventure beyond the Eons. Because I just really enjoyed on how it takes many different tricks and twists with a lot of contrast on here. Do you feel that for people who haven't heard the full album yet, though? Do you feel like that the first single that we heard, such as "Human and Moral," which features Tommy from Amorphis, is that a good representation of this whole record, or is that just one little taste of what's to come?
Well, it's not a total representation. It's just kind of one of the songs which could represent the album the best. I don't know. That's just the only way to say it, probably, because there are like more diverse song as well. There are like black metal stuff, which is coming up on Friday, uh, as Dawns in Nothingness, and but still in Human Moral there is a like mixture between folk prog and also death metal riffing and some psychedelia and mostly crawling vocals and some like really bombastic classic rock stuff. So I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to review, but I'd say that there are like the basic elements of Barren Earth already. But there, as you said, there are like more the different kind of songs on the album, and it's probably more diverse than only one song can tell you. I don't know.
It's funny too. They say never judge a book by its cover or whatnot. Because I looked at the album artwork, and even with a name like Octoploid, like I thought that this was going to be like a psychedelic rock album. I've seen a lot of bands, especially who come from like either black metal or like melodic death metal. You know, the styles of bands like Amorphis and whatnot, and then they go and do something completely out of left field. So I was really shocked upon hearing this album. I think it's was there at all sort of a vision or a preconceived idea of what you wanted this new project to sound like, or was this very experimental and kind of like not really revolving around a grid?
Yeah, well, it was meant to be experimental from the first place, and I kind of prefer uh, that kind of stoner album covers over the boring metal covers. Sorry, guys, but still, it's like I kind of respect bands like Blood Incantation, for example, which are like looking like a death metal band, but they're nowadays they're something different, and they could pull out like totally different kind of album, and also this look or whatever you like to say, like describe it, the logo and stuff like that. It's now I have a framework where it's possible to do any kind of music I like, not only death metal. Also, I could do a stoner album or prog rock album or whatever. So and I cannot see like why a death metal album should look like a death metal album always. It's like it's kind of narrow-minded to stuck in that mindset,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Well, there's this band. They're like more deathcore, but they're called Party Cannon. I don't know if you heard of them, but like their logo is legit bubble letters. They look like they could be like hung in like a baby's room or something like that. So
Okay, what was the band?
Party Cannon.
Party Cannon. All right, I have to check it out.
Yeah. They're really good too. Their songs are really freaking heavy. But and then there's a band that has a very evil looking logo, but they're called Poolside at the Flamingo.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I've always loved those ironic things. I mean, I said to myself when I got the promotion from Earsplit to look at this album, I said, "Oh, I could read the logo, so this is probably one of the least heavier bands on their roster." And boy, was I surprised.
Yeah, okay. The idea was not to play the music for the logo designer or to Oriol Landa, who did the cover. He didn't hear the music at all before he started to work on the album cover. And yeah, well, also a stoner guy, and yeah, I played stoner rock myself, and I'm digging like prog rock. So that's mainly what I listen probably nowadays. I also listen to death metal, but it tends to be the bands which I liked already during the 90s, like Paul Trower and Morbid Angel and Autopsy and Death and such. So yeah, I don't know. It's just I wouldn't like this band. It's my solo band. I don't want to get stuck into certain kind of musical style, and this gives me a freedom to do whatever I like in the future.
You opened up the hornet's nest mentioning the term stoner rock because so I feel like that there are certain genre titles that make sense. Metalcore. I'm expecting it to sound like Killswitch Engage or Asking Alexandria or something like that. You take black metal, I'm getting the feeling of a Mayhem or an Emperor or something like that. But stoner rock and stoner metal, look, I've gotten stoned listening to Baroness and listening to Neurosis, but I've gotten stoned listening to Christina Aguilera plenty of times as well. So, like, is there something that has to make a stoner rock album stoner? Does it have to do with like the riffing style or just the overall imagery? I looked at the logo and the artwork and kind of got that stoner vibe, but you know,
Okay, and the question was,
like what makes something stoner rock?
what makes what?
What makes something stoner rock?
Ah, all right. Well, for me, it's just certain kind of music, basically. It's but I know what you're getting to. It's like I think that even Beatles could be stoner rock
Yeah.
if you think that sense. That I think at least they had the songs in that White on White album, for example. But and also maybe Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple did something in that direction, that department back in the days. But yeah. Stoner rock. Well, if you'd like precisely describe it, it's like band like something like Caius or Deliverance era, uh, Corrosion of Conformity, and some UFO Mammut or whatever. But still, it's kind of the wide. You cannot describe it pretty much because it's so diverse genre.
Yeah.
In all, it could be like crust, hardcore, or poppy rock, which has jamming in it. So yeah, that's a good question. It's it has more diversity than death metal, for example. But still, I think metal music in general is kind of music for open-minded persons because it has so much variation in it.
Definitely.
It could be opera, power metal, or it could be like a grindcore death metal. So there's much like there's not much like similarities between those two genres, but it's still considered as metal. So
I think
yeah.
also if Ear Split is doing PR for the music, then that means it's probably also stoner metal as well.
Oh yeah.
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 Oh, you were saying?
And no, that's but still, yeah, I would. When it comes to Octoploid, I would like to keep freedom to add stoner elements to the music. Let it be psychedelic shit or just like classic rock jamming. Yeah, that's simply it.
You mentioned that this is like being that this is a solo endeavor. Do you feel that like if people really wanted to get to know who Opu was and really get to know who you were, do you recommend that they listen to this versus then what we would hear in albums such as Elegy or Tales from a Thousand Lakes, Halo, etc.?
Well, naturally, this is like 100% me. It's totally authentic and pure music, which I've made, and I didn't force it to any direction. But I don't know if I'm so ambitious that I would like to people know that, especially Olli-Pekka Laine is doing this kind of music. It's just like I wanted to have like 100% veto in everything is done in the studio with this album. So I wanted it to be solo album because of that, because I wanted to be in charge and wanted to produce because it's like good fun to play in a band and do like create music together, but sometimes it's a little time consuming, and also you have to make lots of compromises with the bands. And I don't think that this kind of record would have been possible with in a normal band conditions, at least in the older age. Like when you're younger, it's always like simpler to find a same note with other musicians. But when you come older, it's a little bit more. It's a bit harder to make like for example, we need producer with Amorphis just because we are 6 guys, and it would be a mess if like we could consider every idea from every band member. So it's lots easier to do music like this, to be like one big ego telling others what to do, and
Does that add more pressure to you though? Because every decision now falls on you.
Yeah, of course it adds lots of pressure, because it's totally like it's nice to be in the studio and tell people what to play, for example, and but by now I've learned that if I can imagine in my head, I know it's going to sound at least decent in the album. So, but the other thing is that when it comes to, for example, mixing and sound production, it's a little bit different thing, because I'm not like an audio geek myself. So it's I have also responsibility of how it's going to be sounding the album. So in that sense, there's lots of pressure. I'm not worrying about music or the songs, but when it comes to like technical things, which would be like album layouts or whatever, it's a little bit a tense situation to be in charge, and not to have a manager or whatever, and I have to basically do everything in this band.
There's a big misconception that some people have where they feel like, oh, it's a solo record and you don't have to deal with a manager or a label or a business or this. But I've realized that when you're on your own, like sometimes the isolation is just deteriorating, but like when you're completely on your own, you realize just how much you have to handle without having a manager present or something like that. It's gotta be exhausting.
Yeah, definitely. It's even though I've like felt kind of relieved to get these songs out and get them done, and in the way I'd like them to be. I've definitely felt a bit lonely during the process. Also, it's like I cannot call to anyone and ask like, what do you think about this? Because from starters, I've told everybody like in this project, everything is going to happen just as I like. So it's a kind of it's a paradoxical situation in that sense. Like it's not easy. That's for sure. But still, I think it's kind of rewarding in the end of the day. When I saw the vinyl album for the first time, and I thought like, oh wow, okay, I've done like almost entirely on my own. So it's a really, really rewarding situation.
Is there at all, though, between Octoploid, Amorphis, Barren Earth, and every project you've been involved with, is there at all some sort of creative similarity that maybe ties everything together? Or do you feel like every project you're involved with is a completely separate mindset and different creative process and shows a completely different side of who you are?
Well, I think it's pretty much like different from each other, because in Barren Earth, we were 6 guys doing doing the thing together, and we always criticized each other's songs, for example, and told like, well, okay, you can do better, like stuff like that, what you do in the band, and it's always not very easy, but still you can lean on the other guys. On the other hand, with the arrangements and so forth, and you can give responsibility on different areas like websites or whatever, or staying in contact with the like concert agencies. But music-wise, it's you can share the responsibility much more, and it's easier, and it's always conclusion of like the group. And in Amorphis, it's more like more professionally handled. It's we are always working with producers in the studio. They are mainly picking up the songs. If we have like 25 songs, they are making like coming up with best 11 songs or whatever. So you cannot ever say that whose song is going to be on the album, for example, and then the pre-production and the recordings are different as well, because the producer can like explode the song into atoms and build it again and tell band that okay, this is going to be the song from now on, which is again differing from for example Barren Earth, where we are making the decisions together. And as I explained how it is in Octoploid, I do the songs and demos in my home studio, and I do all the arrangements as well, and just give the musicians some freedoms. Like, for example, the drummer can play fills however he likes, and yeah, and I also do the vocal arrangements and so forth. So it's pretty much on my responsibility, but yeah, naturally it's a good thing also to give the freedom for musicians that you don't write the solos, for example, and yeah, it's probably better that people can make requests when it comes to arrangements, and then you can consider whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
So
because
yeah, those.
Yeah, well, because I remember like when I listened to Amorphis for the first time, being completely shocked that like a song like From the Heaven of My Heart and then Silver Bride could really have so many similarities in terms of what they're able, or so many differences in what they're able to express, but still be the same band. And then, but there's also a lot of consistency that kind of keeps an Amorphis album an Amorphis album. And you could also tell what song would be off of Elegy, or what song would be off of Queen of Time, or Tales from a Thousand Lakes, etc. And then with Octoploid, I feel like it continuously makes you wonder what is coming next. Because, again, you couldn't be more right. When you open up with The Dawns and Nothingness with this album, there's such an evolution that you feel like a Dusk of Vex is like the way that it starts and the way that it ends is truly like an adventure, if you will. But when it comes to the inspiration to write, whether it is for Amorphis or this, do you look for the inspiration? Do you have to seek it out, or do you just kind of have to let it strike you?
I basically just let it strike whenever I hear an inspiring song or whatever. I could draw some influences, of course, but usually that just comes. It's usually the melody which comes first, and then I'll put the melody down and try to find right chords.
Is there at all theory that contributes into your playing style? Because sometimes your music, like, it's so technically impressive that it almost sounds studied.
Well, I've learned musical theory in school when I was young, so I know something about it. But when it comes to composing, I'm pretty much self-learned, and we learned how to write songs when we were like, say, 15 years old. and since then. And this kind of song making stuck into me when we did Elegy album. It's like then we started to really put together different kind of elements from different kind of genres, say from progressive rock and death metal also, and also we listen to lots of folk music and so on. So ever since, it's been really easy for me to come up with that kind of stuff. So usually requires maybe one or two riffs, maybe a main riff or melody or theme, and a verse, and then it's easier to use those two elements to build it from its own. Like it's then it's enough. There's material enough to inspire to song to write itself. But yeah, it's I have a library of riffs in my hard drive, which are in the different folders: with metal folder, stoner folder, progressive rock folder, and so forth. And usually, if the starting riff, for example, is like in the vein of Paul Trover, I try to find some kind of a variation to do it in order to make it more dynamic. And if there's a demand for that kind of song, of course, I have like some only death metal songs under the belt as well, which are like having death metal riffs only. But then it's like, for example, when we did Chaos Breed, a band, we wrote death metal songs, and from that era there are plenty of material still in the drawer. So that's possible as well. But for Octoploid, I'd like to confuse things a little bit and try to take it to some other direction every once in a while.
Do you think we'll ever run out of riffs? Ever? Because people tell me, oh, I have a stockpile of riffs, or our songs always start off with riffs. Do you think that we will ever run out of riffs?
Oh, in the world? That's really hard question. Like if you think it in a totally scientific way, I think it should happen someday. But still, yeah, there are like 12 notes in a guitar, and you can combine those pretty well if you take like rhythmical elements as well. So, but still, it's like I'm not too afraid to if a riff reminds of some other band or some other song. It's not a big deal because I always like, for example, Slayer when they did South of Heaven. It's almost like the first three songs are like almost like one song altogether, because the riffs are sounding almost like exactly the same.
Yeah.
But still, it's somehow effective thing. And it's same with the bands like Godflesh, for example. Their songs are pretty similar to each other, but it doesn't matter at all. It's like if it gives you different kind of moods. So yeah.
Definitely. And there was one before we go, there was one Amorphis question I wanted to ask, if that's cool, and that is just this year marks 30 years of Tales from the Thousand Lakes, and for a lot of people, they hold that sentimentally in their love for heavy metal music. I still think to this day that record, Aged Like Fine Wine, I think Into Hiding, or Downward, Drowned Maid, Forgotten Sunrise, etc., all fantastic songs. What were some of the memories and thought process behind the making of that album, and how would you say the evolution? Because granted, I was 1 year old when that record came out, so I didn't get to experience it when it was first released. But to have an album like that, and then you see the evolution that we see in an album such as Queen of Time, for example, it's really, really remarkable. Just what was the thought process behind the making of Tales from the Thousand Lakes, and what do you remember from there in terms of the touring, and any fond memories you have?
Yeah. Well, I think after Karelian Isthmus, it was like the situation was that we didn't get any tours with that album, and we were in a situation that we didn't have anything to lose at that point. So we just basically decided to do an album which we would dig ourselves, and we have just like started to seriously listen to different kind of music, like folk music, and Kingston Wall was a great inspiration for us because it was so near. It was in Helsinki. It was Helsinki-based band, and they had like really impressive live shows. They played like 3.5 hours or 4 hours in a row, just jamming without any set list, and it was really impressive stuff for young guys like us, and we kind of reinvented ourselves through that band in a way. And probably we just wanted to do something, go into that direction to add some avant-garde to our music, and of course we found Kasper Mortensson, the keyboard player, who was totally non-metal guy. He only played Moog and Hammond organ and sounds like that, but still we had naturally those choirs, which he tried to do as well in the studio, and he did a great job. And yeah, it was kind of turning point for the band. We were in the middle of changing mentally, like ourselves as human beings, and as a band, and our musical tastes had like varied so much, and we basically didn't listen to death metal at all at that point. But still, yeah, that was the mindset, and we definitely didn't try to do anything. It just came out naturally and pure. We just wanted to make a great album, and of course we didn't thought that okay, this is great stuff. Now we're going to make it. We actually were a little bit afraid of the response of the album, and personally I'm a little bit surprised that it's still referred as a classic album or whatever, and people who was born around that era are still listening to it. It's like stalking.
Yeah, well, you're always gonna have like those die-hard Amorphis fans, because I gotta tell you, I've been to Amorphis shows and I've seen, they definitely rank in like the top 10 most die-hard fans I've seen, and you're gonna have like those die-hard fans who want like some unreleased demo that like, or I don't know, like from like Misery Path or Dismint of Soul or something like that like maybe even you guys don't even have the original copies of or something like that. So, but I do think that what has been demonstrated on that album really showcases just, I think, the real capability of technical and songwriting and just the artistic level of what Amorphis is, because the way that you're able to bring in these melodies, to bring in this relentlessness and demonstrate it through so many different albums, I really feel like, and not to discredit the first record, but I do feel like Tales from the Thousand Lakes, like, you have your whole life to make your first record, you have the rest of your life to do it again, and once you did it again, it led to a path of just true heavy metal wonders. So,
well, yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, I went way off on a tangent there, but had to say it. Is there just before we go, is there anything else that you'd like to promote with the release of this new Octoploid album? Again, it's a fantastic record. Could we be expecting anything around the release of it, or anything with Amorphis that you'd like to promote as well, or what else you would like to shout out?
Well, I'm not totally certain, but we probably are trying to play one show for the release, but it's not totally uncertain, and probably because since we will have a like break with Amorphis next year, something could happen in like Octoploid department live wise. I'm not totally sure about it, but at least we think about it and we try it, because there is like probably a slight demand for Octoploid shows, and there's like a willingness to do it. But let's see. But at least we will tour with Amorphis. We will make these festival shows, and then we'll come to America and play North America once more with Dark Tranquility, and then after we come home from there on I think it's October, we will start to put together the new stuff, and then we will hit the studio in somewhere in November, and you can prepare yourselves to hear the results somewhere in 2025.
Hell yeah. I'm looking forward to it. This is what I love about doing these interviews is like I realize how fast time moves because I'll be interviewing a band in like March about like their current record, and they'll be like, oh no, new music in 2025. It's like always planning ahead and everything like that. When they say metal is ahead of its time, it literally is ahead of its time with how far it has to plan out everything.
Oh yeah. We have a calendar in a cloud drive where there is like 3 years from now.
Yeah.
Like the tables.
Yeah, I know that Metallica probably has like a tour booked for like 2029 or something like that. Like, but
well, when you're in this position, you have to take it more seriously and make some plans already.
Bonus question, actually, what was the farthest in advance you planned for a tour? Like, have you planned? Was there like a tour that happened that you planned like 2 years before it or something like that, or?
Oh well, I think we have some plans for next year's September, October. So that's probably the longest time. So
wow,
I don't think it's going to happen there, but not much further.
That's insane. But thank you so much. Everybody, we are here with Oppo of the almighty Amorphis as well as Octoploid. Be sure to check out Beyond the Aeons coming out very soon. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.